Hello everybody, this is Josef Kadlec, also known as Jose, and welcome to the webinar, How to Approach Anybody and Get Response Every Time. So this webinar will be about sourcing. This will be about sourcing, how to approach people, how to approach candidates. This will be about, let's say, finding information which can be used for approaching candidates, and not only technically about how to approach them, in a meaning of what email address to find, what telephone number to find, but also, for example, which format you can use, because today's world, it's not only text. Of course, now, for example, in let's say recruitment market, the number of sent, for example, SMSs is increasing. But today's world, it's about video. So how you can utilize video approach for your need. First thing first, if you have any questions, you can see the form down below the video, where you can put your questions, and I will kindly answer those questions at the very end of this webinar. This webinar is and basically was prepared exclusively for David Perry, the author of Executive Recruiting for Dummies, which is the new book on the market, which is a great book where you will find anything about executive recruiting, which is, let's say, the domain of David Perry. And I have to say thank you, David, because David was one of the people in 2013 who gave me his trust and created a great introduction for my book People as Merchandise, which is the book about sourcing on LinkedIn, about sourcing on social media, and gave me the trust where basically I was just a little cockroach. I didn't mean anything in the recruitment world, and what's now, it's the other story. But so this is my big thanks to David Perry. This moment where I asked people for a reference for my book in 2013, it was kind of a very aha moment for me as well, because imagine those people, apart from David Perry, there is Barbara Corcoran from the ABC's TV show Shark Tank, very popular currently. There are other people such as Horst Gallo, HR director for European IBM Central. So there are many people, Petra Hrušková, staffing lead for Google. Many people who gave me the trust, where when I sent them this book, basically they didn't know me. I sent them the book before I published the book. So it was actually even before the boom and the roller coaster, which basically this book started, not only for me, but to my peers and to maybe other over 220 employees, which we basically employed since then. It was perfect, but for me the eureka moment was that I realized that anybody on the planet is approachable. So even any candidate is approachable. It's just a question of effort. It's sometimes a question of money. Sometimes it's a question of let's say timing. There are more variables, but anybody is approachable, and it's just up to you what you are willing to do usually, and if you have the capabilities, if you have time actually to do it. But there are ways how to approach candidates and get the response every time, and this is basically about it. My name is Joseph, and basically I'm a former software engineer, now in hands of recruitment, where I try to implement software engineering methods and putting IT into this market and kind of let's say reinvent this market. Okay, so that was the beginning. I like this picture. I think Glenn Ketty firstly used this picture at some conference, maybe it was a sourcing summit, and I like it very much, especially because this webinar is done from Prague, the heart of Europe, from the Czech Republic, and the Czech Republic labor market is the most overheated market in the whole Europe. What it means? It means that a candidate here who is on LinkedIn, Facebook, GitHub, anywhere, is getting a ton of messages every day. And this number, the volume, is the highest volume across the whole Europe. So we here in the Czech Republic must be very skilled. If we need to put our message across, if we need to hire those candidates, we must be very sometimes, I wouldn't say aggressive, but I would say maybe sophisticated to do the sourcing. So this image is describing this market where those people behind the fence are of course not candidates. Those are recruiters who are trying to catch that one candidate. Then there are many things you need to, take into account, including your personal branding, the personal branding of your company, your sourcing skills, your interviewing skills, your candidate management skills. There are many factors which are influencing your competitive advantage on the market. One of the things I mentioned, the personal branding of recruiters. If you ask Google what Google thinks about recruiters, we can basically ask a Google here, because we have a Google home device here, which is this device you can see right here. The thing is that the recruiters and the will of recruiters, sometimes it's not the very best. If you ask what HR is Google, it's pretty similar. I would start maybe with one extreme thing, which is this. If you're wondering what this device is, it's called Liberator, and it's 3D printed gun, which you might think it's something like, of course, scary. It's a gun, it's a weapon, but on the other side, quite sophisticated, and maybe you say that it must be quite tough, like to invent this or to create this. This is what I created for Sourcing Summit 2016, which I have to say one of the best conferences you can attend about sourcing in Europe, maybe in the world. And the point of this is that the information to candidates are very much distributed in the today's world. It's not only LinkedIn, it's not only Facebook. Of course, Facebook, the largest social network on the planet, but the information is there. It's not complete, as well as it's not with LinkedIn. So, for example, for us, for our companies, I mentioned, based on the book, we and my business partners, we founded a company which now has the sourcing center with over 120 employees with 7 branches. And for example, LinkedIn for us, it's something like 56%. So it's, let's say, very important source of hire, but it's not the complete source of hire. The thing is that the information to candidates are now spread everywhere. And I will show you later on, you can even source Java developers on Airbnb, for example, Airbnb service, where you can do it. So if you are wondering, for example, if I would give you a task, build me one of the 3D printed guns, which are, let's say, kind of known because you can find those guns in films, movies, TV shows, and so on. How would you do that? Imagine maybe you are watching a TV series, Gomorrah, where you found that guy created this gun and he used that. So you realize, okay, there are some 3D printed guns. I would like to build one on my own. How to do that? Okay, so let's put into Google 3D printed gun. We have some results here, okay? We click on the Wikipedia link where it led us to this webpage, 3D printed firearms on Wikipedia. We click legal status, or we scroll down to legal status, where you can see legal design for firearms such as the Liberator. We click on the Liberator. We are on Liberator Wikipedia webpage. There is some description and so on. We will scroll down and there is a list of notable 3D printed weapons and parts. Okay, great. I click on that and I'm actually on Wikipedia on the list of 3D printed weapons and parts. So if you thought that I have to go somewhere to so-called dark web and dig deep to find those illegal information, which is not illegal, as you can see it's on Wikipedia. I'm on the completely trusted source as Wikipedia, and I can see the list of 3D printed weapons. I will scroll down, and you can notice that Foscat is mentioned here many times, and it's one of the producers. So I will Google Foscat. I'm on foscat.org. I will click Foscat, click Exchange, where I will download the official Foscat megapack, which is over 1 gigabyte file, or let's say bundle of files. I will download it, and basically these are the internals of this compressed file, where you can see that there are some files which you can send directly to your 3D printer. You can buy, for example, this Prusa 3D printer is, I think it was voted one of the best 3D printing printers in the world, some award. This is basically a 3D printer for $1,000, something like that. It's, let's say, the current state of technology is that it's pretty easy, where you will just open it in some let's say software, and you will send it to the 3D printer, such as you would send your document to a normal printer. And you have those parts, you will just assemble it together, and you have the fully functional 1 bullet 9mm gun. So you can see finding information on, let's say, today's internet might be, I would say, very easy, and this works similarly to, this is kind of like the metaphor, the parallel to the candidates, finding information on candidates, let's say the sourcing, part of the sourcing. Of course, for sourcing, in today's world, the social media is kind of the key. The social media is a place where candidates and people in general, they put their personal information. They not only put their personal information, but they put the information about their behavior, where, for example, at which spot they are currently being presented, or, for example, you can target your Facebook advertisement to expats. So people, for example, some guy from Germany moved to France, and Facebook can see he's an expat because he lived in Germany. Now he's staying for a long time in France. Okay, he's some other guy than a normal French. So just based on the behavior, how you behave, what you like, which groups you join, and so on, you can target, and you can use this information as well. I will show you more. So on LinkedIn, of course, we have a new LinkedIn now. I will not be mentioning what are the advantages, disadvantages. If you are interested on this topic, I would like to send you to, you can find it on our Recruitment Academy YouTube channel, or my personal YouTube channel, where you can find a webinar just about the LinkedIn changes. So of course, there are some crucial things. It was a big impact, big change, basically since LinkedIn started. So we have here the new non-paid interface, or it might be paid if you have some of the lowest, the cheapest LinkedIn premium accounts. And you can see I put into title something like CFO, or financial director, or finance director, or chief financial officer, or VP finance, or vice president finance, to be, let's say, precise, and to be I would say exhaustive within the searching term, and find the most let's say volume and number of people who are suitable for the CFO role. So when I'm sourcing on LinkedIn, it's for me the goal, it's usually to find the maximum people. This is one of the ways, and of course there is many other ways how you can search. This is not the point of this webinar, but this is what you can do. But for example, sourcing on SlideShare, if you know SlideShare, SlideShare is in the ownership of LinkedIn, which is in the ownership of Microsoft at the moment. So SlideShare will be maybe a little bit pushed because of course Microsoft has their own PowerPoint, so Microsoft might be pushing their own products. But if, for example, you have a CFO who is on LinkedIn and he just filled his, let's say, maybe he didn't fill his LinkedIn profile at all. He put there his name. He didn't put there that he's CFO at the moment because, for example, he's busy, he's new on LinkedIn, but he enclosed his CV in, for example, document format or PDF to his profile within the rich media on LinkedIn. You can do that. The problem is that you are not able to find that guy with this search term because the CFO and so on, those terms are not presented on his profile, but they are presented in his CV. So you can do search like this, where it starts with site, slideshare.net. Then you can see in parentheses the CV vitae. There should be resume as well, so there should be to be, let's say, more complete, or resume. There is the životopis, which is a Czech local term. So if you are sourcing in other countries, beware of the language differences. This is sometimes usually for Native Americans, UK people, and so on, kind of neglected. But you have to take this into account. I put there city and I put there accounting, not CFO in this case. I put there accounting, or účetní, which is the Czech term for accounting people. And you can see we have some results. So we have results with the CVs in PDF and so on. I will skip to the search here on Google, where I did a different search. You can see I put here Java, I put here Java or J2EE, I put here Chicago, and I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm looking for basically people who have CV, or I'm looking for links who have CV or resume in the title, which means in terms of HTML or web technology, it means that this basically bold titles, this is title in terminology of HTML. So I'm looking for CVs, resumes, and I'm looking only for files which are PDF, doc or docx, or you can find also, for example, RTF, which is also a known format. And you can see you have some results. And so those CVs are basically just being there basically on internet. They are not connected with any social network and so on. They are basically there in the vacuum of the internet. And we have to basically take these documents into account as well. So this was SlideShare. So you can see one search on LinkedIn cannot find all potential people because the quality of data is crucial there. And if somebody just simply not mention the CFO on their profile, you are not able to use this search command. But you can use this and find some further people. You can also use Facebook. So Facebook, probably the well-known, if you put there intel-sw.com, which is the website of my friend, also software engineer, Shane McCusker, and he created intelligent search plugin. So with this button you can install that plugin, or you can use the plugin right here from the website. The only real difference is that with the plugin, which is this icon right here, you can use more let's say options which you can put there. So I can put here something like lives in let's say for example New York, and if I'm looking for the CFOs, I can put here lives in New York, and I will put here job. I will try just put there CFO. Search. This plugin is going to open your Facebook, and you can see people, and you can see people on Facebook who are in alignment with this search. So you can see those people are really in New York. We can see that we have, for example, this guy is CFO and co-founder. This guy is Chief Operating Officer. So Facebook tries to be somehow more, let's say, sophisticated with the search terms you will get, but it's just a question of fine-tuning of the search queries. But this is basically, this plugin will turn your Facebook around to kind of LinkedIn, where you can find using all these job titles, employer, and so on. So this is Facebook. Sourcing or Airbnb. You can see, for example, here you can put there just site airbnb.com/users, and I put here Java Prague, and I have here some guy. And if you would scroll down here, down below, there is actually standardized field job title, and there is a Java developer in this case. So that might be the way as well. This is the CVs on Google, so we already mentioned that. But you can see that, for example, it was here. We can see, for example, here PDF resume of Robert V. Binder. We can see that this PDF, I can open it, and we can see that this is a normal, you can see PDF with a CV. We can just check it out. We have all the information which we can use for contacting Robert. But we can also see that Robert created his own website. What it means? It means that, again, if you know how internet works, you know that if you have your own domain, there is some register where all these domains are registered, and there is connected the owner with this domain. So what you can do, I did it right here. You can use the service called Whois. So you can put you can put into Google Whois, which is kind of a standard protocol. So there are many. For example, here is one of the Whois services, and okay, I will put it right here. robertvbinder.com, and I can see, of course, it's registered, but that's not what I'm interested in. But okay, from this it's not so clear. You have to find some Whois, which is, let's say, there are many of them, and some, for example, I use usually this whois.smartweb.cz, which is kind of like user friendly for me, and I can see the information right away. And I'm looking for this information. I'm looking for this part. Usually this part you can see it's admin name and so on, tech support. This is usually the address, contact information for the domain register or server housing company and so on. But you are usually interested in this, which means that we have his name, but we have his Illinois, Chicago, we have his address. This address might be his home address. This address might be his work address. We don't know that, but we can definitely use it for, even actually for sourcing. We can contact him there. I'm not saying just go there, ring the bell, but you can, even if you have no other chance, you can send him a letter. That might be, in today's world, one of the original way how to approach people who are overwhelmed with emails and so on. But remember, the key for a successful approaching of candidates is firstly attention. You have to create attention, and as well as I need to create attention right here, so you are listening to me. So this is what I'm doing right here. But the second thing, after the attention, is to break the pattern. So if, for example, those Java developers people are overwhelmed with incoming emails, voicemails, LinkedIn messages and so on, just break the pattern and do something different. So even if it might sound old school, like sending an email or sending actually a snail mail, normal postal mail, it might actually work for your country because you are breaking the pattern. So break the pattern and create attention. We can see that there is a phone number as well. Usually there is email address as well. The email address might be different from the email address you can find on his website. So on his website you have email address, for example, at robertwebinder.com, but in the register he has his Gmail. Great. If we see that there is a Gmail, we can use the Gmail for creating a hangout with him. So we can start a hangout and we can chat with the candidate. Maybe it sounds strange for you, like I would be chatting with the candidate, but imagine, for example, for me, first of my maybe 10 or 20 candidates, I didn't speak a word with them on phone. It was on an email and it was only chat. Of course, for me, it was very much influenced that I started with hiring IT people. For them, it's kind of a preferred way how they want to speak with you. But as I said, the text communication is increasing. So as well as you send SMS to your friend, why not to send SMS to your candidate when he's not receiving your calls because he's, for example, overwhelmed, he's attending the meetings and so on. All right, so you can see many different ways, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. Many different ways where you can find the information on candidates. Now we will dig deeper and we will get to the ropes of how to deliver your message. So let's say take this as tips how you can deliver your message to your candidate. We have LinkedIn invitation. Let's start with something easy. You can see that you can put there even in the new interface, you can put there some personalized message. In this case, it's 300 characters. So you can put it there, and that's kind of pretty straightforward. That there is a LinkedIn message. LinkedIn message, when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you can send him a message. So of course, for example, here we have Mr. De Krook, and we can send him a message. But what's not so known is that you can, on LinkedIn, you can send a message to anybody on LinkedIn when you share a group with them. So for example, let me check my notes here. So here I have a profile of some guy, Pavel Kuchera, okay, and I open this profile and you can see that Pavel Kuchera, I'm not connected with him, so he's on a second. I'm not connected, and so normally I'm not able to send him a message. You can see connect, you can see in mail. In mail, it's a paid message. So when you have some of the premium accounts, you can send him an email in mail using the credits from your premium account. So in this new interface, you can see there is interest here, or there might be some other like following that Pavel is following some things. If you want to check his groups, you just click on see all and you will click on groups. So the problem of the new interface is that, just to what I know, I'm not able to see which groups I'm also part of. other than just to remember it. So for example, I know that, for example, HR professional CZ, I know I'm part of this group, but it's not kind of like, it's not marked here in any manner. So I will click on this. I did it here. So I'm in the group HR professionals. I can do it again like this. If you click on members, you can click on members and you will find a member. So I will put there Pavel Kuchera. I will mouse over on him. You can see the icon of the of an envelope right here. If I click it, the messaging interface will appear and I'm able to send him a message even if we are not connected. That's the point. So imagine now there is no cap on for how many groups you can apply for, so you can be in any number of groups you can. So imagine that the vast majority of people on LinkedIn are members of some group. So you can be kind of like opportunistic with this and connect to a group. When you can see that the candidate is at some groups, you can click on the group and you can be the part of that, and then being able to send the message to a candidate. So LinkedIn message via groups, don't forget this, it's important. LinkedIn email address. LinkedIn email address, we know that if you are connected with somebody, for example here with Ugne from Lithuania, we can see that I'm connected with her because you can see here first connection of me, and in the right, when you see show more information, you can see email address of her. So we know the email address. Great, that's not a problem. But what if, let's say I'm not connected with her? Are you able to find out this email address even without going somewhere else to Google and so on? We will definitely touch on this, but there are some other ways how to do that. You can use a plugin which is called Rapportive. Rapportive is the official plugin of LinkedIn. LinkedIn purchased that many years ago. I remember that for 15 million US dollars, maybe 7 years ago, something like that. And this is Rapportive. You will just put it to your Chrome. The Firefox version is not working anymore, to what I know. So usually you can see this is my Chrome, and you can see how many plugins I have right here. I also have a plugin to manage those plugins because I have so many. So this is the plugin extensive for managing those plugins, and you will install this plugin and then you can click send a message, or you are receiving message. And for example, I can put here even, for example, your own email just to verify it's working. So I put there joseph.kadlec@gmail.com, and you can see in the right column here appear the information from LinkedIn, which means, okay, this user, even if we are not connected, this user uses this email address I just put here into the to field. He's using that on LinkedIn. So you can guess email addresses of people even without connecting with them. So you can see, for example, in this case, when I know Ugne first name and last name, I can try something like, okay, her email might be something like u.yakniunaite@gmail.com. I will put it there. Her profile information appears right here, which means bingo, I got her email. If I put there ugne.yakniunaite@gmail.com, I will see nothing. I will see that user not found, nothing was found. So this is not her email. So this is very powerful way. If you are hiring, for example, IT people, most of them, they have Gmail. There are some regional specifics. So for example, here in Prague or in the Czech Republic, non-IT people, they usually use something different than Gmail. So you have to take this into account and use this. So yeah, very powerful way how to actually guess. It's not about finding emails, but it's kind of like about guessing emails. You can use some other plugins, and there are many. I use Prophet plugin for kind of like determining the email address of those people. There is Email Hunter. I think there is some other plugins called Lucia and so on. There are many of them. The problem is usually that they work usually quite good, for example, for the US, UK market, not so much for other regional markets. So you can see, for example, here I have Martin Kolenbach from Tieto in Finland, and the Prophet plugin is right here. So I'm on his profile. I click here, the arrow, and I can click find email. And martin.kallenbach@tieto.com. It's saying me that it's his email based on some information. Okay, maybe yes, maybe not, we don't know. We can try. You can try determining a company email address. For example, when speaking of which of Tieto, you can put here, for example, if you know that this guy, we know that he's working for Tieto, which we can see right here, head of strategic transitions at Tieto. And okay, so let's put into Google something like email space Tieto.com, and we can see right, yeah, this is quite funny, because we can see here, contact us, Tieto annual report 2015. Tieto personal email addresses are in the format first name dot last name at Tieto.com. Thank you, Tieto, you did the job for us. And we can see on right here, for example, the fourth link, that we prove that it's sami.dahiman@tieto.com. So this is basically what you are after. You are after some real email address of a real person in the company. If this comment is not working, just put there Tieto.com, and usually you find it. Some companies like Microsoft and so on, they have quite complicated the email patterns for email addresses, but for the most of the companies, you are quite easily able to find it. When you find it, you can use Mail Tester. For example, Mail Tester, there are more services of this sort. So I can open Mail Tester, and I can put here, for example, this Martin Kallenbach, Tieto.com, whether I found it that I tried it like this, I tried it to put it into Google, or I used Prophet plugin to find it. And you can see email address is valid. Great. We just verified that Martin's email is correct, and we can use it. If the message from the Mail Tester is in red, it means it doesn't exist. In this case, it's not worth even to sending that email, because it will return into your mailbox as undelivered. The third state which this software or this service might end up with is an orange, something like that. It cannot resolve if it exists or not. This means, let's say, I would say the best security setup for the Mail Tester, and in this case you are not able to verify if that email exists or not. Okay, so that's company email address. You can use other social profiles. Usually I don't use the Prophet plugin for finding those email addresses. Usually, especially for, as I said, the regional areas such as Central Europe, Eastern Europe, even Western Europe, except UK, for example, and so on. This is not so powerful. But I'm using usually that for these additional information, where you can find that, for example, Martin has a Twitter as well. Of course, we can use that he has Twitter on his website, but sometimes based on the information which are on his profile, and it can be Facebook profile, it's able to find out some other information, some other profiles. You can do that, let's say by hand on your own. So if you, for example, want to find people who you connected with on LinkedIn and you want to find them on Facebook, you can take the email address. So for example, I connected with Irina Galova on LinkedIn. I got the email address. Okay, great. And if I put that email address into Facebook like this, Irina's Facebook profile will appear. It would appear even if Irina would change her name on Facebook to something completely different. Sometimes it's the case that people on Facebook, they use a little bit different name for a bunch of reasons. But with this method, if you put there her email address, or if you put there even a telephone number, you can try to put there her telephone number. If the telephone number of email, either of them, is associated with the Facebook account, you will find this. On Facebook, you can see that there is a sent message right away, even without connecting with Irina. The problem is that this message is going to let's say a separated inbox, which is not so accessible as the primary inbox. And your message, if you use this, your message might not be read. So I'm not saying don't use it. I usually, what I do is to add a friend, and in the meantime I'm gonna send the message as well. Sometimes the person is seeing the message, so especially when they use a messenger, which is now the most of the cases, they can see the message even without connecting with them. So you can try to do that. You can try contact people on YouTube. If you find out that somebody is on YouTube, that he has his profile on YouTube, you can open, for example, here I open Eric Tseng. By the way, this guy is doing some videos from North Korea. Pretty interesting to see what's happening there. And if I click about, you can see here about, there is send message capability. Great. I can send him a message even without, let's say, you can see I didn't subscribe to him, or here it's not visible. So you can see, by the way, you can see other links here: Facebook, Instagram, Google+, VisiGlow. So they are one of the spots where you can find more information where that person is creating his digital footprint. So great. YouTube, Skype, very frequent voice over IP solution. And okay, so you can find, I'm not sure if I have it somewhere here. Okay, I don't, but never mind. You can, for example, imagine you found a profile of Tommy Sorati, and I think he was from Finland as well, so he was connected with this, but never mind, it's not so important. So Tommy Sorati, I found this guy on LinkedIn. I'm not connected with him. I'm not able to basically to send him a message because, for example, he's not sharing a group with me. I can open Skype. I can open search. You can even, for example, if there are some, Tommy Sorati is probably very unique name. I'm not sure for Finland, but from the global perspective, definitely. But if you are looking for some John Black, you can specify the region right here because you know that this guy, you found him on LinkedIn, so he's from US, UK, Canada, Australia, and so on. So you can specify it, and you can see Tommy Sorati, and I found the guy. I remember his picture. I remember his picture from LinkedIn, so I know definitely it's this guy, and I can send him a friend request, and I can then chat with him. I don't force you to call him, but you can definitely use this platform as a chatting platform and be in touch with him. Okay, Google image search to find data. What you can do, you have, for example, Martin Kohlenbach profile. Yeah, okay, the Tommy, just to double check
My
it.
apologies. I don't understand.
Okay, this was Google Home. I mentioned the keyword Google, so he tried to do something. Tommy Sorati, this is this guy, so you can see this is this guy. We can use Google to, and especially image search, to find what are the other websites, social media sites, and so on, where this guy has this very same picture. So in this case, I used mine. I'm not sure if I have it here. Yeah, I have. So you can just copy the address of the image. So for example, if I would be looking for Tommy's profile or picture, I will click right here. I would click right button and copy image address. Now I have his image address in my clipboard, and okay, let's try that search. I'm gonna open Google. I'm gonna click on here the images. I'm click the icon of the camera here, and I click Command V or Control V if you are on Windows, and I click search. When I click search, I can see that his picture appeared, for example, on gitps.com, which is the company where he works. So I know that I have his profile from his LinkedIn profile, but his picture, for example, appeared here on the website as well, and you can use it. So yep. And here, right here. By the way, again, we have his email, we have his LinkedIn, we have his telephone. Right now, we have his telephone. We can try to cross-reference it to Facebook and find his Facebook as well. When we are not able to find him over his name, we have his Skype. So you can see how this works. You need to cross-reference it. You need to go to different places. And for example, this guy is easy. His digital footprint is huge, so you have no problems to get in touch with this guy technically. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean that he's gonna reply my messages. We will touch on that right away. But technically, to deliver the message through to him, it's not a problem in this case. Just to finish on this image search. You can see I put here mine because I know that my digital footprint it's let's say quite intensive. You can see there is my LinkedIn profile, there is our Good Call About Us profile, Twitter, there is Sourcing Summit, speakers profile, image SlideShare. So I use that image at some of my presentation which I put on SlideShare. Based on that, I'm tracked. Now you can see that I'm on SlideShare, and I might have my information at the very end of the presentation, as well as probably I have in this presentation. So this is also a great source where to find email addresses, telephone numbers for people that you will find, for example, their company presentations which they have for whatever university or some CFO summit, for example, marketing festival, again, other event, and so on. You can see a lot of information you can use and use it for approaching. But don't forget the Google. If you have some guy, you can just use, for example, on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you can just put his name, and for example after that put their email address or telephone number and so on, or the prefix. So I know that Arnoldas is from Finland, or sorry, he might be from UK, I'm not sure, doesn't matter. Yeah, he's from the UK. You can see it here. This is his LinkedIn profile, and the UK prefix is there. So we know that UK prefix is +44, usually O, but definitely +44. So we can put there Arnoldas Kristanatis +44, and we might get his telephone number. In this case, we put there Arnoldas Kristanitas, Kristanaitis, whatever, email address, and we find out his email address. For example, here, arnoldas@gitps.com. Yeah, that's it. So sometimes just Googling the name of the person is the way to go, because you can find out that, for example, he was selling his watches, or he was selling his car, his flat at some something like Craigslist or whatever it is in Finland or in UK, and they usually use their contact information there. So let's move on the second part, which is how to design the message. So this was a technical way how to actually find information, because usually without finding information how to technically approach that person, you are not able to do anything. You are not able to send them text, you are not able to send them video, you are not able to do anything, you are not able to call them. So firstly, you need to be technically sure that you are able to deliver, and now in what format, how to craft it, basically, how to craft the content of the message. Our average response rate on LinkedIn, when we use, let's say, a general message, is something like 36%. So if we contact you on LinkedIn and we put there your name, we put there some basic personification using your employer, using your skills and so on, some projects you are currently working on, we can get up to 36% response rate, which also means that you will, or the candidate is going to reply to us, I'm not interested. This is also checked, he responded. The basic message, it may be like this. So for example, on LinkedIn, it may be something like this: Tommy, your profile is pretty neat, the experience with Linux and your focus on load balancing especially. I think that choosing F5 vendor is a way to go based on their last tests. I might need somebody with that skill set. For more information, accept this invitation. Jose. In this case, you can see that we focus on the candidate. We don't mention anything about the role. In this case, I'm basically just selling that I want from this guy just accepting of my LinkedIn invitation. I don't want nothing more. I'm not forcing him to go to the interview. I'm not forcing him to work for our company. It's too early for that. At this stage, I'm just basically selling accept my invitation. That's it. The key is usually to focus on the candidate. Do not focus on the particular job, because you have 300 characters. You are not able to sell that role anyway within 300 characters. When you, let's say, move on to some email message, what usually I'm encouraging people and what worked for me and for my people is using question. So if you are sending, let's say you send the invitation, the guy accepted the invitation, then you are sending the follow-up email. Of course, you can call him, for example. That might be your way to go as well. Just pick up the phone and call. Thank you for accepting my invitation. I would like to use this chance to speak with you in person or on telephone. But if you are sending a message or email, whatever, usually, because I was kind of like schooled with the most demanding hiring, which is hiring of IT people, where the response rate is usually way lower. So you have to be very creative. So my usually way to go was that when I'm designing the recruitment email for the candidate, I'm usually designing that with the premise that he's not going to reply to me. I'm not designing that he will reply to me, but completely the opposite, because in most cases he will not reply to me. So I'm basically preparing the soil for the follow-up. So I'm sending, here is some, for example, JavaScript developer, and I'm designing the message that he's not going to reply to me. If he replies, great, that's the bonus for me. He replied, I can use it, but I'm structuring that email with the premise that he's not going to reply to me, and based on that I do things, for example, like using the question. The question is kind of like psychological commitment. It's some psychological commitment, it's inside. So that's great for any other follow-up. And the second thing is I try to use with references. If I know that, for example, I grab few people from the company, for example, in this case you can see IBM. So I hired some people from IBM, let's say in favor to other company. When I know this fact and I'm contacting a candidate from the IBM, I'm not hesitant to use it at all, because it's your track record, and your track record, it's, I would say, the strongest maybe factor which is giving you the credibility in this particular communication, or maybe not only in the particular communication, but if you have those recommendations on your profile, it's giving you the credibility as a whole. So based on some study which was presented at a recent conferences in Germany, 1 to 3 questions is the best what you can use to reach the highest response rate. 50 to 125 words in the body of the email or message, and subject line up to 3 words. Definitely avoid things like interesting opportunity, attractive opportunity, and so on. As we said at the beginning, you need to break the pattern. So everybody is using the opportunity word, interesting, attractive, and so on. So just basically sliding over your keyword with a hand, you will reach better results than using a word opportunity. So breaking the pattern, you can see right here in the subject line, there is a free in-office bike tune-ups. So this is email sent by Antelo. And you can see free in-office bike tune-ups is completely something different. It's breaking the pattern. As IT guy, for example, IT guy, I'm going to open this email, no problem. At the beginning, you can see that I noticed on Twitter that you are pertaining to bikes, and he's referring to a fact that Antelo has a tune-up station where their employees can fine-tune their bikes. So if you know from Twitter, in this case, that this guy is biker, you would be foolish to not using this fact in your recruitment email. Sometimes I call this sourcing via hobbies, because usually we will have a lot of information on candidates about their work, projects, and so on. That's nothing special. We can ask his former colleagues if he's good or not. But what will be differentiating us, let's say, in regard to the response rate, would be touching on let's say hobbies and maybe I would say non-work related facts. So yeah, this is the example how you can structure it, get the credibility, get the attention, break the pattern. Feedback is crucial. So usually just sending one email or LinkedIn invite or anything else, you are not cutting through the platter. So feedback, for example, I used, and some of my employees who were not hesitant to use this method because it's a little bit, let's say, it might be on the brink a little bit. Maybe if you are from a different culture, it would be too heavy for you. I would say might be that I send an email, maybe something like you see here. It might be like this. I use the questions and so on. And after 4 days of not receiving any any response, a response with putting into the reply message any feedback, question mark. Nothing else. Nothing like good morning, Mr. Hello, Mr. Yours sincerely, blah blah blah. Nothing like that. Just any feedback, question mark, and the response rate skyrocketed. It's basically using this method. You can skyrocket your response rate, because the most of people will not reply to the first message but to this message. You can use, for example, sending email on behalf of your of the candidate's potential boss. That's basically a routine which I saw at many of companies, which is usually a routine or technique you can use as internal HR, not as agency HR. But at a lot of cases, recruiters use, for example, CEOs or software architects' LinkedIn profile to send those messages, because it's simply more effective. Me as a software engineer, I would rather get the message from the CEO, or let's say the team leader, or software engineer, or software architect, or any other, for example, senior member of the team, rather than from recruiter, rather than from any other external third-party recruiters. So that's the fact. How you can use videos? This world, it's about videos. Here you can see the example of what we call video job descriptions. I would say that, especially here in this era, I would say that Recruitment Academy is kind of the inventor of this method. This is a simple, usually up to 2-minute video, where we shoot using a mobile phone, usually a hiring manager at a company. So this is a real potential boss of that candidate we are looking for, and we just ask him what he's looking for. He will introduce the company and so on within the 2 minutes. So it's just from the spot speaking, nothing scripted. Usually when those people script something, it's horrible, and it's horrible in the meaning that it's not authentic. This is authentic. We can see, I can play one here. Basically, this what I showed here is half in French, half in English, so you would not understand it, probably most of you. So let's see this.
My name is Simon Antropiv. I am head of the marketing in 2N. I work here for 3.5 years. The marketing in 2N is responsible for the whole marketing communication. We are launching products, we make all the events in the company, we make all the exhibitions. One of the major goals of marketing is launching the products, building the brand, of course, and launching the products. 2N is present on 148 countries all around the world. So we have to be present in all those countries. And it's hard to make it.
Okay, I will stop right here. You can see this is a little bit longer, 3 minutes 20. But this is basically the point of this, that that we will create this video. You can see it's normally public, so just skip to our YouTube channel, where you can find those videos. And instead of sending to people the text description which is on your website, or maybe in the worst case on some job advertisement portal, you will use a link to this video. So the effect is the change of the format. You are breaking the pattern, because people are not used to receiving these videos as a recruitment videos, as a recruitment approaching. So you are breaking pattern in this case. People are watching it. The second thing, you as a candidate can see your potential boss, which is great, because normally if you would read the description of yet another description of CFO, of Java developer, or receivable clerk, for example, and so on, it's still the same. You have some association behind the words, but here you can see the guy, and you might say something like, okay, this sounds reasonable. this guy looks solid, I would like to see him, and you will attend the interview. So this is one of the ways what you can do. Another way, which I would say we firstly used this in 2013, and this is basically the difference between this one and this one, is that these videos are done directly to that one particular candidate. So basically, for example, here Zuzka, our RPO recruiter at Tieto, the company we already mentioned, she just take the mobile phone, she put it somewhere in the meeting room, or she can handle it like this, and she will do a video something like, hello Jonathan, I found your LinkedIn profile, it's quite interesting, especially your experience with blah blah blah. Now I'm looking for this blah blah blah. Basically the same things you would use in the text description. You can say it here naturally with your voice, with your flow, and save it on YouTube. Save it as unlisted. Beware of the privacy, because you don't want to be these personalized videos flying somewhere on YouTube. So unlisted video. And again, just putting this message, this link across to a candidate. He will click on it, and you are creating huge attention, because this guy will say just something like, okay, so somebody just took 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever, of his life and created a video just for me. I need definitely to reply to this. And in most cases they do. You can see 20 qualified candidates, and it was sent over the LinkedIn groups, over LinkedIn, and everybody out of those 20 replied to her. So actually she needed to do 20 very much similar videos, but you can see what's, let's say, the reward for that. There are many other videos and formats you can use now. There are already cheap cameras which you can use for creating a virtual reality video. So imagine doing this video or this video like in a virtual reality, which basically we are already trying to do. Imagine, for example, these 3D virtual reality headset is, you are maybe wondering what's the price of this, but this is something like $4 or $5 or $6, where you can open it right here, and this works on a basis that you will put your smartphone in it. So you can basically create a video from your office. You can use the hiring manager there as well. You can send this to your candidate when you really need him, when you really need your response rate. In terms of money, $5. So in some cases you can definitely use it, and he can appear right at your company. It may be personalized on him as well. So you can see there are no boundaries which you can reach. This is one of the cameras. It's called Ali. You can do live videos as well. There is another camera which I'm actually expecting any days now. It's called Vuze. It's from Kickstarter, and it's one of the first, let's say, cheaper camera which are 360-degree plus 3D as well. So this is the VR box you could see. So you can see the video might be because of tablets, because of other devices. The video is very important, and now it's very cheap, and you could see most of the videos I just showed you. I didn't show you any let's say cinematic employer branding video for Volvo, which is great, made by people. It's called, you can watch it on YouTube, but I just show you videos which you can done simply on your mobile phone. And I would say these videos are done specifically for the sourcing. It's not for creating a brand. Of course it's creating the brand as well, but you could see, I'm not sure if it's visible here, Okay, it's not, but usually these videos, for example, even this video, the views of this video is something like, for example, 100. It's basically the number of people you send it to. But that's correct. You don't expect that this video will be representing employer brand of the company in general. There are many live videos now. You can see that there is Instagram Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope. So it's also the technology which you can use. And we, for example, I can show you one prototype what we created here. It can be maybe quite scary device, but this is a device you can see from this angle where you can put basically 3 mobile phones. So one here, one here, one here, and you can do live videos up to with using a special service Restream. You can stream up to doesn't matter, up to 30 channels. So one mobile phone can be YouTube Live, Facebook Live. One mobile phone can be Twitter Live. One mobile phone can be Instagram Live. And yeah, there is a microphone shared to all mobile phones, and there is a power bank right here. You can see there is lighting. Lighting is usually the key with the videos. So imagine creating these live videos from your office, again, for the purpose of sourcing. It's definitely the way to go, because the live videos, especially for example on Facebook, it's now a preferred. If you create a video and you will put it there as normal video and live video, with the live video you will reach the higher engagement, the higher views, because Facebook will prefer this live video format as well. What you can do as well is create a video and then play it as live video, even the video was pre-recorded. This is one of the examples what we created in Cam, a device which we built. Here is a small camera. It will create a shot, an image once every 60 seconds and upload it directly to your LinkedIn profile. So if you, for example, here I was at True London, the conference True London, and if you opened my LinkedIn profile on that day where I was at the conference, you basically saw what's happening right there live. It was live on the background in the cover up of my LinkedIn profile. Of course, there are some methods which, for example, here in the Czech Republic are not legal, but in the US there are. From what I know, it's legal. You can send SMSs with a different, let's say, sender telephone number. So you can, for example, create some interesting telephone number, just zeros or just ones, or 1 2 3 5 6 and so on, and you can create attention because receiving such email or such SMS, for example, it's something different. You can also not put their telephone number, you can put there a text. So you can put there any text within 8 characters, which is creating attention as well. Of course, if you send SMS with such text to somebody, he will not be able to reply to that because there is no telephone number behind it. You probably not see it. I will click out of the full screen and it should be here. Okay. I have a special, if you want to use it, just go to this sms.databoost.cz. You can log in with webinar 2017, use password hex, and you can basically do that. It's the service we created, and you can send SMS to people from any number of your choice or from any text of your choice. Okay, this is it. Back to full screen. And basically you can do the same or similar things with phones as well. So you can use, if you don't have your own solution, you can use spoof card or you can use Bitphone, and you can call your candidates with any number of your choice. So it might be even pragmatic reasons you are trying. You want to, for example, call as a French recruiter. You want to call to a Spanish candidate, but you want to have a local number, local prefix. So of course you can do that with Skype, but it's quite, let's say, more time consuming, more difficult. So this is easier way how basically to do this scenario. Just for your information, there is interesting thing called Adobe Voco, which will be published. I call it something like Photoshop for audio. If I have 20 minutes of your voice, I can upload it there, and I can create anything. For example, here you can see, and I kissed my wife and my something, and it's basically speaking with your voice. Perfect. So you can see there are many things what you can do. It's basically now, with the current state of technology, it's about your skills, knowledge, but the money is not let's say the obstacle anymore, which it was before, because creating videos before let's say 10 years ago was more difficult. Internet wasn't prepared for that either. So Steve Levi put this tweet in 2015, something like, I know it looks like a lot of like cyber stalking, but in the recruiting world it's called research. So yeah, sometimes it might look like that. Okay, so this was it basically. This was the bundle of tips, how to find information to people, how to put your recruitment message across, and how to structure your message, how to use the videos for that, which is very powerful. So don't be afraid to implement it. You will find your let's say problems, for example, where the companies, they are not willing, the managers, for example, are not willing to stand up in front of the camera. They don't see the reason. They are simply afraid of camera and of the videos. But if you will explain that correctly, that this is how it works now and it can be their competitive advantage, I think the companies who will firstly implement the videos in many different forms correctly, they will definitely have the competitive advantage. Okay, so now there's a questions for your questions. If there are not any, or if you have questions later on, don't be afraid to send me email. You can find my email on my anywhere basically, on my LinkedIn profile as well, and so on. And you can follow me, please, just on LinkedIn, because I reached the highest limit of connection on LinkedIn. You can send me your invitations if I have a spot there, because I'm a little bit, let's say, cleaning my network, so I might have a spot for you. But if you want to follow my content, which is usually about sourcing, about using technology in sourcing, and so on, this is my era. Just hit follow. Do not click connect, but follow me on LinkedIn. It's now 2 different functions. So this was this webinar for a special occasion of a book by David Perry, Executive Recruiting for Dummies. I definitely recommend this book as well. And hopefully we will see each other another day, maybe at another webinar. And I'm saying bye for Prague, the heart of Europe. Bye bye.